Please listen carefully.
Hello everyone, welcome to the 12th episode of the Study Space podcast, a show dedicated to helping students like you earn better grades, navigate your college journey, and become lifelong learners. My name is David, content strategist at Uniplan team, and I'll be your host for today. Today we'll be talking about taking a pre-med path in college and what that entails in regards to academic coursework, extracurriculars, and research, among other things. Joining me today is my friend Andre Vu, who is a pre-medical student also attending Johns Hopkins. Andre, welcome to the podcast, and I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, Chongboy. My name is Andre. I'm a pre-medical student. I am currently a psychology major at Johns Hopkins University, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, awesome. So obviously we have to start somewhere, and so I guess I'll start off by asking you, what inspired you to want to pursue medical school, and what motivates you to keep going?
I mean, for inspiration, I think every pre-med has some semblance of what it means to be a pre-med. Basically, desire to help people, basically desire to want to do more. Almost every pre-med you met would either have that, or the pre-meds that don't last, which they want money, you know? For me, I think my inspiration comes from my upbringing, the experiences that I had when I was growing up, and I think that's what molded my desire to become a pre-med and my passion to become a doctor in general, and most importantly, my passion to help others. So basically, I grew up like a poor family, just like David here, and in our upbringing, we always prided education, academic success in life, especially being a Vietnamese American, where like our parents had to struggle so much just to get us here, right?
Right.
And for us, we feel like at times it might feel like we are only supposed to do 3 tasks, say like the typical Asian roles, you know, like if you think of stereotypes, a doctor, a freaking lawyer, businessman, or like a engineer or something.
Right, yeah.
But for me, that was in my mind, but personally, I think what molded my inspiration was the fact that I seen my parents struggle physically and with health. So then, obviously, the natural thing a kid would want to do is help their parents out in any way they can. You know, in that naive state where you're like, "What can I do, mom? What can I do, dad?" You know, because my family, we do have some heart problems and stuff, like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and a laundry list of other things. And my dad currently, he has some spinal problems, you know, some knee issues. And for me, it was I think it was an unconscious desire to like help. So the natural progression for me was obviously medicine, you know?
Right.
And that was, back then it was only like an inkling, you know, like a seedling of what it should have been or what it is now. I think how I grew that desire was that I continued to try to seek ways to help, you know,
Right.
and experience like the ways that a hospital works, or like talking to other people and like understanding why I really wanted this. Because the path going down pre-med, it might sound fun and games and all of that, but like it's a lot more psychologically draining than you might expect, you know. Like Dave here, you can attest to how hard being an engineer is, right?
Yes, engineering I'd say is pretty hard just because of all the math you have to do and all the problems that you're faced with on a daily basis. But I know that medicine is also really competitive and difficult, so yeah.
Like for your struggle is with the difficulty of the courses and with like achieving a acceptable GPA, correct?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. That's the same thing with pre-med, but for pre-med it is more of a psychologically draining because you always want to be A+,
Right,
while
yeah.
being an engineer, there's a little bit more leeway in that and still be able to succeed in jobs, right? Finding job search and all that.
Definitely. Yeah.
Because for pre-med, a lot of it is like there's this neurotic culture around it, which is that it is us against you, and either I get to be a doctor or you don't, you know? Because think about the process to get into med school, right? You have to get perfect GPA, perfect test scores, you know, on your MCAT. You have to get perfect perfect amount of like extracurriculars, while also balancing time to do the other laundry list of requirements that make you a solid, well-rounded student. So at times you might feel like all you're doing is pre-med, you know? But then you might also understand that being a pre-med means a lot more than just hitting the laundry list. It makes sure that you really want to help other people. At least in my case, you know.
Right.
I don't know about other people, but like for me, although this like journey might seem like kind of taxing and like kind of like why do I have to take physics for like become a doctor? Like taking a random like chem class was like it might be more useful than physics, but like you still wonder like, come on, really?
Yeah.
You know,
right. I get that.
it makes sure that you are dedicated enough to become the best doctor that you can. You know,
Right.
but at the same time, I feel like it also mentally degrades you as a person. You know.
Okay. Yeah. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah,
Mentally degrading. Yeah.
So, if you are in a room with people, right, and then everyone's a pre-med, you know that in med school there's only X amount of spots every year, and that number doesn't change. It's like
Right.
what 150 per school, most somewhat like that, and then you know that you have to be one of those kids, right?
Yeah.
So then everyone will want to be like, oh, I gotta be like that. You know, I gotta do it. I'll take any advantage I can get. A lot of times people might feel incentivized to like, you know, get a little edge up, you know.
Right.
So that's why a lot of times there's not this culture of like helping out. And that's what most people think about, you know. But I feel like that culture will do a lot worse for you if you're not fully dedicated to it, you know.
Right, definitely. No, I mean, I think especially, I think what Andre is touching on specifically is, I know at Hopkins there's a large pre-med population, and a lot of people always make jokes about how pre-meds are snakes and how pre-meds are always willing to cheat and do stuff to like give themselves an advantage when it comes to med school. And that's obviously like a joke, but it stems from you know, from real events and real experiences, because you know it's just so competitive, and a lot of people had medicine, I guess, as their childhood dreams, so it's really crushing to them when they do poorly, let's say on a bio midterm. And so their only way out of it is either one, to work harder than they are, which in some cases it's actually like really difficult, or two is to cheat, right? And that's the easy way out. But yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from with that. Yeah, with that sort of pre-med culture.
You said what motivates me to keep going on, right?
Yeah, right.
For me, it's basically just for me, the pre-med journey is just a test of my dedication and my conviction to become a
Right.
doctor. So for me, my only motivation is my desire, and I'm just trying to do my best every single day. And I'm just thinking about why I'm doing it. For my family, for my future, for my desire to help others.
Right. And I mean, it sounds like you have like a really strong conviction to do that. You seem like you have the right motivation for going into med school. But you said something earlier, and I just want to touch on it a little bit. You said it's kind of an Asian stereotype that we're all doctors and everything, and there's this whole like stigma surrounding that. I guess like Asian parents, you know, forcing their kids to be doctors, and a lot of kids wanting to be doctors because of money, you know. I do want to touch on that a little bit. So I want to ask you, like, why do you think that those kids, you know, who might be really smart and might be really motivated by their parents to do that, why do you think they don't last as long as people who have more internal motivations, if that makes any sense?
Oh, yeah. It's the same thing as it's like if you work out, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have an internal motivation to work out, then you're not really going to last that long, you know? If you're just out there to just like, I don't know, like get girls, like you're not going to last as long as someone who's like, yeah, I want to be healthier, or like, and it'll give them the motivation and drive, and obviously the ability to like deal with all that comes with it, you know?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, you said to come to come with whatever deals with it. So I mean, I know that pre-med is super competitive, as you mentioned before, and it's also very stressful. I think just in terms of like just in terms of it being so desirable, right? Everybody wants to make that money. Everybody wants to become a doctor, right? Like, but obviously it's super difficult, right? Because you have to go through all this schooling, all this education, and
Don't forget the money.
right, yeah. No, that turns a lot of people off, I'd say, to med school. And then, like, one of the main reasons why I think a lot of people don't go to med school is because of all that time and money invested. So do you think that what do you think is the best way to kind of deal with this stress and this competition? Because I mean, I know you mentioned a lot about like motivation and, you know, thinking about why you do it and working hard, but I know for some people that's really difficult. So are there other strategies that you can use to kind of get yourself past the pre-med stage and really make it into medical school?
I mean, you can divide that into internal ways and like external ways. Like, let's start off with like internal, right? Like for me, I bring an attitude where like I'm just taking things easily, you know.
Right.
I take them as it comes, you know. Like some people get too worked up on like, oh, med school's in 4 years and you do this, and this in 3, and you do this in 2. Like personally, it's good to have a plan, but like at the end of the day, at most you can only do is handle like a week in advance, you know. Right. So I would just say, if you're gonna do anything, this is not just for pre-med, it's for anything in life. It's all about perspective and like knowing the limits of over planning, you know.
Right.
Because if you go like 4 years in advance, you know, you're not letting yourself have room for like the changes in your life, you know.
Right. Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like that's why you just gotta take it like a week at a time, a day at a time, and just go with what happens. Accept it, think about it, you know, contemplate for a little bit, but like you gotta get moving, because you can't just stay lagging behind while everyone else is moving, you know. Mm-hmm. Externally, I think the most important thing is not to socially isolate yourself, and to actually find that medium that you find relaxing or like calms you down, or always taking a break every now and then.
Right. Yeah.
Because being overworked is never good for studying, never good for school, never good for anything. You know the saying, like 8 hours sleep is the most important thing, you know?
Yeah. No, we say that all the time in this podcast. 8 hours of sleep is really important.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you have 8 hours sleep every night, David?
You know what? Recently, I've been actually getting less sleep than I did the first 2 weeks of school, and I think that was just because of my coursework. But I tried to. I think I got, what was this, 6 last night?
Really?
Yeah. So I try to get 6 to 8, but it doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
You know?
I thought you were sleeping at 6 a.m. Yes, sir.
Dude, you thought, yeah, no.
Well, yeah. For external, obviously, friend groups, you know. If you find yourself a good support system, that's always the best thing.
Right.
And I think you should break it down into 2 things. For the classes and stuff, always try to find someone in your class, you know. Yeah. It's always better to like suffer together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Misery loves company. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something like that. You gotta be fancy with it. But like, you know, so like if you're struggling with something, it's always better if you're able to like talk to someone about it and they can actually understand what you're going through. And if you're lost in a class, it's always better to have more people to help you with it. You know, it doesn't mean you gotta be friends with everyone, all right? But like 1 or 2 good friends here and there goes a long way. Everything. And then for friend groups outside of like classwork and stuff, always try to find someone that you can have a good, solid conversation with. Someone you can actually connect with and actually able to like, I would say, break out your shell a little bit. Cause like school itself, especially for college, especially for like first generation limited incomes kids and stuff like that, it's already tough enough for us. It's a new place. We have no experience, you know.
Yeah.
Money is tight, you know. So it's always good to just have like a solid group. And usually the saying is like 5 solid friends is always good, you know. Like small, right. It doesn't matter how big it is, as long as you have a small group of a good kind of friends that you can actually connect with. It'll help you a lot in the long run, with mentally and stuff, and physically actually. You know, the first step for everything is mental.
Yeah, no, I can definitely agree to that. I mean, Andre and I are kind of in like the same friends group, and I know that.
Kind of, bro.
Kind of.
What are you talking about?
We are in the same friends group.
Yo, I see you every night, bro.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, and I think it's just a really good support system. I know, like the first few weeks of school, I was kind of trying to like isolate myself. I was going to one of the lowest levels of the library. We call it C level at Hopkins.
Nah, bro. It's all about the D level.
D level, yeah. No, D level. It's terrible down there. I mean, I think it's still good to go to those places when like the time really comes, but you don't want to be.
Not for me, bro.
You don't want to be doing that on a daily basis. Trust me, it really like depresses you, stresses you out, and that's why like I think during the first few weeks of school, I was pretty miserable. But then I made a lot of friends, and they were really supportive, and they were always like helpful. And even though this school is supposed to be quote unquote like cutthroat or competitive, I definitely found the right people for me. I don't know how everybody else is, but no, I mean, I think that everybody's really just out there to help you as much as they can, and just I guess keep an open mind and try to get a really good friends group. Okay, so pivoting back to kind of more pre-med thing, what activities are you doing outside of class currently, and do they relate to medicine at all?
Extracurriculars, in all honesty, not really, bro.
Wow.
Because I'm trying to make myself. I'm trying to. College is about self exploration and about new things. So why would I limit myself to just things that are pre-med, right?
Yeah, right.
Like, yeah, it's important to focus on things that are pre-med and stuff.
Right.
But like at the end of the day, your extracurriculars should be a reflection of what you are trying to be. Like who you are. So like some things I'm part of right now are Noon Magazine. That's a Asian American magazine focused on like the plight of the Asian American, and like for like Pacific Islander and like Desi Americans and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
I'm part of Thread, which is like a mentorship organization that helps out students in Baltimore County in designated schools and stuff. That provide these students with like a mentor per se, or at least I would say an outlet for them to feel safe,
Right. Yeah.
I'm part of Share, which is a Hopkins organization, which is kind of pre-med related, which is we basically package unused equipment from surgery rooms and stuff, and then ship off to other locations across the world, I think.
Right.
I'm part of a bunch of other stuff, and so I like to diversify myself as much as I can and just do what I'm interested in. Because as long as I'm interested in something, I will do it to the fullest potential. I mean, one of the things I think is pretty pre-med is like Hopped On. So it's a new organization that I'm part of.
Right.
Its main priority is to fundraise for the Johns Hopkins Children's Center.
Right. Yeah.
Where we do like various fundraising events throughout the year, and we ask the local community to like help fundraise on their own, so that they can donate to these kids who like at the end of the day are just kids who don't want to really be in the hospital. And then one of the big things we do is like we do a dance marathon, where we host like an event for these kids to enjoy themselves and actually be kids. Overall, I think like my main priorities are in extracurricular wise, anyways. Because you can't forget about the pre-med stuff at the end of the day.
Yeah, right.
For extracurriculars, I rather not just join some random like pre-med stuff just for the fact that it's a pre-med stuff.
Right.
Because what's the point of that if you're just gonna be like, oh, I was part of this, and you like if you have to write something, there's no point in having a useless extracurricular where you can't even really talk about it.
Yeah, no, it definitely sounds like you're joining a lot of activities that are actually impactful and really making a difference, and it sounds like you really enjoy them. I definitely know that a lot of quote-unquote pre-med activities can be quite boring at times, and people are joining them, for the resume.
Yeah. Some people in those groups are kind of weird, not gonna lie.
Yeah. No, so definitely, I think that's really good advice for anyone looking to go into the field of medicine. Just join activities that you really do care about, that you're passionate about, and don't just join them because, you think they'll look good and they'll be a good addition on your resume. I think, honestly, the same goes for engineering.
I mean, it goes for anything, though.
Right, yeah. I happen to be like in an engineering club, which is rocketry. Yeah, but I actually really love rocketry, and I do that either way. But I also do a lot of things that are not engineering related. Like, for instance, I run this blog and this podcast, and I'm also writing political articles for my girlfriend's website. So those are things that I just do outside of school that I think don't necessarily contribute anything to my resume, but contribute meaningful experiences to my life.
I mean, it helps out with your mental health, you know.
Right, yeah, no, it's a good de-stressor. Aside from, socializing with friends and everything like that, I think those two are good.
Plus, like, the best thing you can always do is meet new people, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, the more connections you have, the better you often end, right?
Yeah, connections are really good. So I guess my next question is, are you doing research, or do you plan on doing any research in a lab while you're an undergraduate?
Well, I'm pre-med, bro. You kind of have to.
You kind of have. Yeah, I know. I know at Hopkins they brag a lot about research and how like 85% of kids do research here or something like that. Yeah. And I know it's really important for pre-med. So I mean, I guess
even you're doing research, aren't you?
Yeah, I am doing research in a kind of a sweat sensor lab, which is kind of not a pre-med thing, but a medical thing. Like
it's pretty medical, yeah.
Yeah, and that's not my fault actually. I think it's the fact that this school
was it like biomedical, like
bio-nanotechnology.
Yeah.
Because it's just the fact that like the school gives most of the funding to health-related stuff. I mean, there's some other research opportunities, but those are more for PhDs and grad level students. So I was able to take what I could, and I actually really do enjoy my lab because I'm able to like work on a lot of designs for sweat sensors that are actually going to help people. But I guess my question is like, what kind of research do you plan on going to, or do you not necessarily know yet? Like, what specific branch of medicine, I guess?
In terms of branch of medicine, the things I like, most likely want to like develop my interest in more is obviously with the heart. You know, my family does have a history of heart problems and stuff, blood problems. You know, so like that's obviously a natural thing that I'm obviously interested in. And also like spine, that's also I'm interested in. But recently I've been getting a little more intrigued about genetics.
Okay. Yeah.
So like I'm currently I'm not in a research lab, but like some of the labs I'm trying to look at are like the genetics labs and stuff like that, because honestly they actually are pretty interesting here. It's one of the classes I actually kind of enjoy, even though I don't really know how to study for right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, what does that entail, like genetics lab? Like, what do you like from what you've looked up so far? Like, what are those genetic labs doing necessarily that are making a contribution to medicine?
You know, there's countless Nobel Prize winners here. There's countless There's countless like award like critically acclaimed like researchers here. So like I think the benefit of being here is that for us, research is like our bread and butter, you know. First research institute in America, you know, something like that.
Yeah, we are the first.
Yeah, right. So like we spent like what, like a good amount on research in general.
Yeah, it's a lot. I forgot what the number was. I know
it was like a good like half a thing or something like that. I don't even know.
I think it's almost $1 billion.
Yeah, like almost like somewhere around that.
I think it's almost $1 billion, like, something like that. Yeah.
I think like what's the benefit of that is that no matter what, there's always something for you to research, you know.
Yeah.
There's plenty of if there isn't, you can just do it yourself, and there's probably like a grant somewhere as well that will provide you some money for your research.
Yeah, so, we know someone who got funded for her research. She got a Woodrow Wilson.
Oh, Greta?
Yeah, right, Greta. And we'll probably have her sometime on the show if she wants to come on.
Yeah, she's chill.
Yeah, but she got research funding basically for her own independent project, which is figuring out why constituents feel disconnected from their local representatives. And so that's a really important project, and it's probably going to provide people like more insight into why democracy is kind of disconnected in today's environment, and that's really important. And I think obviously like the medical research is super important. I know we have
that is our bread and butter,
Yeah, we have a current Nobel Prize winner, Dr. Greg Semanza.
I think we have multiple Nobel
multiple Prize yeah. He's the most recent one that I can remember.
I remember it.
He discovered, I don't want to butcher it, it's like something with hypoxia. Is that I don't know what it is. I think the thing he discovered was the H1F or something like that. But I will link the study in the show notes, hopefully, so you guys can read more into that if you're interested. Yeah, the paper, I should say. My bad. Yeah, but it was actually written a long time ago. I looked it up. It was written like 20 years ago or something.
Well, that's the nature of like
research.
Research and Nobel Prizes in general. A lot of the things that get Nobel Prizes are written a while ago, just due to the fact that a lot of things need some time to disseminate and to actually show their prominence and importance.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely important. Yeah, so I mean, I think as Andre and I already established, pre-med research is pretty important. You should get yourself into a lab if you can, but I mean, I think it's important to get yourself into a lab that actually interests you, and if you can, do something that's really groundbreaking, because I think that'll motivate you more, especially, being surrounded here by so many Nobel Prize winning and really prestigious faculty, I should say. Like, I think we don't really think about that on a daily basis, but when you do take a step back and think about it, it's really inspiring. And it makes me proud to go through the school, to be honest, which I didn't see at the beginning, but over time, I guess you get a sense for that.
In regards to that, I know that research is gonna be hard, especially at a lot of other schools. Just that in comparison to our school, research is almost like a natural thing for us.
Right,
it's just like everyone does it. But like a lot of schools, say like state schools, like in California, like UCI and stuff.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's a tough competition. So like, don't get deterred if you don't get it the first time, the second time, or even the 20th time. Just keep on sending your emails. Meeting them in person, going to your interviews, all that, and just take all of them with a grain of salt. That you might not be just the right fit for them at the moment, but you might be the fit for somewhere else.
Yeah, no, I know it's really difficult to get research in other places. I have a few friends who are pre-meds at UC and kind of state schools, and they tried to apply for labs their freshman year, and they instantly got rejected. I had a very, very contrary experience to that, and me and the two undergrads that were working in the nanobiotechnology lab, the principal investigator was actually really happy to have us there and really wanted us to contribute, even though we were freshmen. His philosophy was just, come here, have fun, learn things, and it'll be a good experience. But obviously, we're very privileged to have that experience, and I know a lot of schools it's difficult. So build up your resume and get the qualifications. Take all the classes you need to, because I've heard from a lot of people who want to do research that you actually need certain course requirements to do it, since there's a lot of theory that goes into research that you need to base your studies on. But yeah, those are just some things to do before preparing to do research.
Oh, in regards to pre-med specifically, don't be ashamed to take a gap year.
Right. Yeah.
It's a natural thing that most pre-meds do. A lot of times, certain schools don't have the needs or like the capability for all students to get all the requirements that are needed to make you like a solid student.
Right.
I would say from volunteering experience, clinical experience and stuff like that, or to research. A lot of students take time off to just buff up their resume. So if you need to do that, there's nothing ashamed with that. It's just a natural part of the pre-med experience.
Yeah, no, I think taking a gap year is a really common thing for a lot of pre-meds. I think the number one reason is because I think they want to study for the MCAT right after college.
A lot of students do that.
Yeah, but there's other things too. Like, some people just want to travel before they head into 4 to 9 more years of school, and go through that stressful experience all over again. So I guess it's a good break.
Depends on the people,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. If you are having taken your MCAT, MCAT is a stressful test.
Yep.
And then take as much time as you need with it, and it is it's not determining if you're making it in med school, but it is a really big factor in the whole process of things. So take the time that you need, and don't feel pressured by other students who brag about this, and this,
Right.
and feel like you need to catch up in a sense, Take it your time, I think the oldest person to get into med school is was it 60? I don't even remember. Or last year or something. Age is not a deterrent in any way. So take as much time as you need. And if you're not fully committed to the pre-med life and the pre-med requirements in a sense, take some time off. It's not for everyone because it comes with a lot of burdens, and your 20s are gone, Yeah. So if you're not ready to commit to that and you're not fully sure about medicine, maybe take some time off, try to find that passion, say volunteer at the hospital, work at the hospital, research or anything, and maybe you just find something else along the way. So just take things with one step at a time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that leads me to my next question, which is, can anyone become a doctor if they really try, if they really put the effort in? Obviously, not everyone wants to become a doctor, I'd say, but a lot of people do. And so do you think that even if, someone's, let's say, struggled in high school, is it possible for them to become a doctor?
If you struggle in high school, that's in high school. Why would I care about that, right?
Right, yeah.
There's countless stories of people who like had 2.0 somethings in college, right? And they still end up being a doctor.
Right.
It's all about how dedicated you are and how willing you are to sacrifice like time, effort, and like a lot of other things just so you can be on that pre-med track. And sometimes it's just not worth it for some people,
Yeah.
It's just a matter of understanding why you want to do it and will you do it,
Yeah.
Like they say, half the battle is mental,
Yes.
Yeah,
that's
so
true.
like anyone can do it. Anyone is capable of doing it. Just put your time into it. But sometimes at the end of the day, it's just not for you. If you feel like, why am I doing this? This is so bad for my mental health. Then it's obviously not the right track for you. You might need to take some time off it just to think about it. And or at least try to find your like support system. Because like the pre-med like track in general for most people is a stressful track that cannot be done alone. I don't think you need at least like some support system.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question I have for you is, when do you know that you should actually drop out of medicine? Like, if you think that you're not, fit for it. Like, I know, there's times when a lot of people struggle in medicine, but there are also times I think when people are just suffering way too much and maybe medicine is not right for them. Like, when do they know? What is like kind of an indicator that they actually should drop out and pursue something else, like let's say a PhD or maybe a different degree? What do you think?
One, it's a person-to-person basis though, So like I can't speak on behalf of anyone, but like I think from at least from experience, I think the main things to consider is your desire to like be a doctor well-founded,
Right.
Because like a lot of times other pressures are in the way, like you wasted so much time to do this, like you're already too far gone, but then will you actually be happy?
Yeah.
Like think about your happiness first and foremost, because as long as you're happy and then anything is a good experience,
Right.
So like I think if being a pre-med, being on this track in general, or being on any track in general, is making you not want to do a lot of things and like making you feel as if you're limiting yourself, and that limit is not worth it in the end in your mind, I think it's time to drop. Like no matter what others say, no matter what others think, at the end of the day, it's your life, and then you gotta just do what you gotta do,
Right, yeah. Okay, so let's say, for instance, that, someone is really passionate about medicine, someone's really passionate about helping people, but they just find that, the pre-med track is way too stressful for them. What do you think are some good alternatives to this that you could recommend for people who are still interested in medicine, but just don't want to deal with the insanely high levels of stress that medicine, has with it?
Medicine in general, if you say medicine, bro,
Yeah.
the very nature of medicine is that you're helping people, right?
Right.
And the very nature of people is that people are faulty,
Right.
Like
Yeah.
people are not perfect, and we won't function perfectly. So you have a lot to burden, I guess you would say, So like that's why the whole track is difficult, yeah.
Right.
It might be overly difficult, but it will be difficult no matter what you do,
Right.
And if you want to help people in regards to men, there's plenty of ways you can do that. Volunteering at the hospital,
Right, yeah.
There's scribing. There's a plethora of things you can do, It's all about testing the water, seeing if you like it. If not, drop it,
Yeah.
Like there's no point in wasting your time in something that you're like, at the end of the day, do I really care about this enough? Not really. Then there's no point in being there,
Yeah.
like just do what you want. Just have fun, be relaxed. You get through a lot better that way.
Okay, so I guess final question, just going, away from college a little bit, away from med school, going back to high school, because I know we probably have some high school listeners out there. What do you think are the most important things to keep in mind when you're preparing yourself to actually apply to, not pre-med programs, but like apply to colleges with the intent of like declaring a pre-med track? What do you think is important for you to do in high school to show colleges that you're actually ready for that?
Have fun.
Have fun in high school. Wow, I haven't heard that one before. Yeah.
Why would I stress myself out in high school, bro?
Yeah.
Just have fun. It's high school at the end of the day. College don't really matter, but the saying, it's all about opportunities, and like certain like higher ranking schools do have like better resources to make it easier in your life. Doesn't mean that it's like the end all of things, but just study hard, do your best, and if your best is not where you want to be, just accept it, move on, work harder, and just focus on what other things that can buff up your resume. Grades aren't everything, Look at David, look at me. Our scores weren't the best,
Oh yeah.
We're not perfect.
Definitely.
We didn't get the perfect 1600. I didn't get a 1500.
No, me neither. Yeah.
So like, you want to talk about like building up your resume?
Mm-hmm.
Do things to like be good at what you like, and show colleges that you are talented, inspired, and dedicated to whatever you do. Because you're gonna be competing with a lot of like high-end students that are like struggling and like with like top grades and this and that. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's more important that to recognize that it's a battle against yourself, and that you just do your best, no matter what college you get into. Don't let anyone else like dictate where you're going.
Yeah, I think that's some really solid advice. And so I just want to thank everyone who has tuned into this podcast. Thank you for listening to us. We know that there are many countless podcasts being published every day, and you've decided to listen to ours in particular. The show notes with links and everything we mentioned in this episode for further reading and learning are on our website at uniplan.dev. If you want to show support, share the podcast or tell a friend about it. Your testimonial to your friends and family is the most helpful thing that you can do for us. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Thank you, Andre, so much for being on this podcast. You've given a lot of really good insight and useful advice for pre-med students. And I just want to say thank you.
Okay, John boy. And also, Venmo me at Andre T. Vu.
Oh my god. That's it for this episode.
All right.
Okay. That's it for this episode. We'll see you next time.